This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Life gets easier with great assists, and State Farm is here to dish one your way. Get in touch over the phone or on the app to get the teammate you need. State Farm with the assist. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability and eligibility vary by state.
Gatorade is the #1 proven electrolyte blend designed to hydrate better than water. So you can lose more sweat and raise your game. Gatorade, is it in you?
Go further with the American Express Business Gold Card. Earn 3 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels when you book through AmexTravel.com. Whether your destination is a business conference or a client meeting, your purchases will help you earn more points for future trips. Experience more on your travels with Amex Business Gold. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold Card. Built for business by American Express.
Hello, it's Stephen, and welcome to the Paddock and The Pavilion, and our second episode focusing on the 2025 100. Returning to the show is Rosa Simkin from Rosa Talks Ball, and we're also joined by 2 other guests making brief cameo appearances. In this episode, Rosa and I take a detailed look at the women's competition, analysing all 8 teams. Rosa gives her predictions for the women's tournament, while I offer mine for the men's. If you want to find out more about the 100, especially the women's game, this is the podcast for you. You might even hear the names of the 2 winners for 2025. Hello, Rosa. Welcome back to the Paddock and the Pavilion for our 2025 100 preview.
Hello. Thank you for having me back. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. You must be tired though. What with finals day and also the Lionesses winning the Euros.
I mean, it was quite the weekend to put it as simply as possible. It was an interesting balance for us in the press box, having the Vitality Blast women's final playing out in front of us whilst we were all watching the Euros on our laptops. I think not much productive work was done, but what a weekend.
I must remind listeners this is a cricket podcast, and Rosa will later be giving her predictions on the 100, but we've got that to come. But before we hear from our special guest, are you all set for the 5th edition of the 100?
I mean, yes and no. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to getting into it, but have been so dominated by the county season that I haven't really quite wrapped my head around completely what's going on yet. But I'm really looking forward to it kicking off.
I'm sure you know more than most people about the 100, even having been to finals day and closely following the county schedule after the last 2 or 3 months. Last year we had a dramatic women's final, and by the way, we're going to be concentrating mainly on the women's tournament, but I am going to let you know who I think are going to win the men's tournament. So going back to last year, we had a women's final which went to 2 balls before the end. We had lower scores with a 2 shiny ball. Remember that?
How could I forget the ball scandal and how much people went on about it?
Yeah, we must make sure this year that the H is in the right place on the ball.
Oh, I think I lost sleep over how much it annoyed me that was even a conversation last year. So let's hope it's not this year for my sanity.
I think everyone had forgotten about it until I just spotted it this afternoon when I was doing my preparation. We also had a 10 balls from Dan Worrell at the start of a match against the Welsh Fire for the London Spirit, where there was no runs scored. And completely opposite, we had 5 sixes in a row by Kieran Pollard off Rashid Khan. Plus, we had record crowds in the women's tournament. But the action starts on Tuesday, the 5th of August, with the final on Sunday, the 31st of August. Rosa, what are your expectations for this year's 100?
I'm really looking forward to it. I think this year has been a massive one for women's cricket. We have kick-started a whole new structure with Project Darwin, handing the game back to the 18 counties and the national counties. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how the domestic players respond to the 100. I mean, they've been playing in front of much better crowds already this season. So that bodes well for the 100, which has historically attracted some of the biggest crowds for women's cricket. So it should be a really good event.
That's something to mention, actually, because the crowd for the finals day was a record.
It was indeed. I mean, nearly 6,000 people in. I think we lost a few to the football during the final, but it was a great day, great atmosphere, and London really showed up for Surrey and watched their home team lift the trophy.
So hopefully that should mean some even bigger crowds for the women's 100.
I mean, you'd like to think so. I think the Oval have always been very good at attracting crowds, and they've been one of the best this season. And we'll have to wait and see how it goes across the board. But hopefully, lots of people will be turning out for women's cricket.
Let's hope so. Anyway, it's time now for our special guest, someone you know very well, and let's hear from Chloe Hill. How excited are you about this year's 100?
Yeah, really excited. It's something that, I mean, it's certainly on my TV all throughout the summer, and no doubt I'll probably pop down to a few games. Obviously, being a part of it a few years ago, and just to see what the 100 is all about. Yes, I'm just excited to see it back round again.
Yeah, you were part of the London Spirit.
Yeah. God, must be 2 years ago now, 3 years max. But yeah, just being a part of that team and just seeing how. I guess certain professionals go about it, and all the international stars and the different coaches. Yeah, it was like I was sort of walking in every day and just mesmerised by it all, really.
Which international stars did you get to be around when you were at the London Spirit?
I mean, obviously I had the luxury of Heaven Knight as my captain. Grace Harris, with her wacky ways that she goes about her cricket, like absolutely love. And then obviously we had Risha Ghosh from India. So yeah, loads of different top stars, and then also like young domestic players coming through the game. So Danny Gibson, she was smashing it at the time, and yeah, just that. I mean, I could literally name all of them. It was just mesmerising every day to go and watch.
There's plenty of Aussies coming over in 2025.
Yeah, it seems to be that way. I think previous years there's only been a couple because of how their schedule's been, but it seems like they all want to come over this year, which I guess is only going to raise the standard even more because we know how good the Aussies are as athletes and as cricketers.
And following Project Darwin, do you think the domestic players are going to be even more prepared for the tournament?
I'd say so. I think, I mean, certainly seeing how Tier 1 has gone since it started. I think the scores that we're seeing and I guess the chases that we're seeing as well are really like the high total, they're competitive. It's not 90 all out and a team is struggling to chase it or chase it in 5-10 overs. It's 250 plus and teams are taking it down to the wire and chasing it, batting all the way down from number 1 to number 11. And
I guess domestic players will want to impress with the chance they could still push themselves into the England World Cup squad. I know that's a 50-over tournament, but you're playing in the 100 against world-class players.
Yeah, definitely. I think, obviously, the series that we've seen at the moment against India has shown, and also the West Indies series. But I think we saw it the first year of Alice Capsey. She came out of nowhere in the 100, and all of a sudden she's now this big England international star. So there definitely will be a breakthrough player for sure, and it'd be interesting to see who that's going to be.
And generally, it's often been said this, but how important has the 100 been to women's cricket in this country?
Yeah, I think I say it every year that the 100 does wonders for the women's game. Bums on seats, more people talking about the women's game, understanding women cricketers, walking around asking for signatures of players who they probably never heard of until the 100. Yeah, I think it just does wonders for the women's game, and to have it always been double-headed with the men, I think that's the way forward that it should always stay, and it should continue to do that.
That was Chloe Hill, the former Worcestershire captain, and this weekend she was also playing on loan for Buckinghamshire in the Tier 3 final. Plus, she is your co-host on a podcast. Tell us more.
She is indeed. She's my co-host on the Two Tiers Deep podcast, which we kick-started recently as we were both quite disappointed by the coverage of women's domestic cricket, and especially Tier 2, where Chloe obviously has the playing perspective. So we thought we'd combine my perspective as a journalist and hers as an active player and see what we could put together.
Well, it's going well so far. You've, I think, got 4 or 5 episodes out.
Yeah, it's gone well. It's definitely been busy. Difficult to catch each other at times to record, but we're really enjoying it and looking forward to growing it more and more as the season goes on.
Well, that's the main thing, and you're enjoying it. So what did you think to what Chloe had to say there?
I mean, I completely agree with her. I think it was really interesting to hear her thoughts on kind of how the growth of domestic cricket through Project Darwin can help prepare players not only for the hundreds, which I'd argue, and many of them would argue, is the pinnacle of the English domestic summer, but also, as you say, we've got a World Cup coming up in India in October, and we've also got a home T20 World Cup coming up next year. So for those players, it provides a great opportunity to showcase their skills alongside some of the biggest international stars in the world of women's cricket.
It's time now then for our preview of the 8 teams in the Women's 100. I'm going to start with the winners last year, the London Spirit. They came third in the ladder and they won the final against the Welsh Fire. They beat the Oval Invincibles in the Eliminator. They only actually won 4 games in the ladder. They had a tie and they lost 3. It was a very competitive season last year, Rosa.
It really was, and I think that just is a testament for the growth of the hundreds and the increased competitive nature of women's cricket as a whole. And I mean, even looking at the final by itself against Welsh Fire and how neck and neck they were throughout that whole game, things feel much tighter throughout the ladder.
This season for the London Spirit, is it more about who's not going to be there with Heather Knight, their captain, who was second in the run ladder last year, out injured, and Deepti Sharma, the star all-rounder who helped them win the final, pulling out of the side?
100%. I mean, there's a lot of question marks as to how they will go under different leadership of Charlie Dean, apart from anything else, with Heather Knight's absence. And there's also other question marks regarding the extent of the fitness of some of the players who will be available. I mean, Danny Gibson has only played 1 game of T20 cricket this year for Somerset and hasn't bowled this season. So as far as the balance of their squad goes, the absence of certain players has really, really put them at a disadvantage.
It's good to see that Charlie Dean's going to be getting captaincy experience, though.
It really is. I mean, Charlie had a brief spell as captain a couple of seasons ago when Heather Knight picked up that hip injury. And she went really well. And I think we talk a lot about the England captaincy situation and the lack of readiness of the younger players to step into the shoes of Knight when, after that unfortunate Ashes, she stepped away. So it's really important for players like Charlie to get experience in tournaments like this so we can see how they fare.
The London Spirit have got a good bowling lineup. Would you agree?
I mean, 100%. I think the addition of Izzy Wong is, I mean, anyone would want her playing for their squads. I mean, she's joined from Birmingham Phoenix, where I'm pretty sure she spent the whole of the 100. So it will be an adjustment for her, but also some domestic names, such as Tara Norris in the pace department. But the spin attack is where it deserves a real highlight. I mean, you've got Sarah Glenn, Charlie Dean, and also Grace Harris, who's been enjoying some spells with the ball for Surrey this season. For Surrey this season.
Where do you think their runs are coming from? Georgia Redmayne last year had an outstanding season, was the player of the final and the eliminator.
I think that's where I'm slightly concerned from their perspective. I think Georgia Redmayne obviously had a great season last year and could step up again, but they have a lot of very big hitters in Grace Harris, Danny Gibson, Cordelia Griffith. I think they're really lacking those players who can kind of dig in and provide some stability in the innings when it's needed, and that will probably be where they struggle this year.
You did say last year that the London Spirit would go well, and they obviously did because they won the tournament. And we're going to come back to predictions later. But let's move on to the team that you always seem to predict who are going to win the competition, the Welsh Fire, who topped the group last year. And they actually beat the Spirit in the group.
I mean, all I'm going to say is the Welsh Fire girls worked really hard to prove all of my predictions right. But unfortunately, it obviously wasn't meant to be. But they've got a really strong group, very similar to last season, actually, which you'd expect given how well they did.
Yeah, they've got some very good all-rounders in the side with Hayley Matthews and Jess Jonathan.
I mean, when it comes to franchise cricket, those are two players who would be straight into my 11. Hayley Matthews absolutely smashed it worldwide in Australia and India. Jess Jonathan is probably someone who falls under the radar a little bit more. But we'll get the opportunity to see her in action a lot in England over the next few years, as she just signed a 2-year contract with Yorkshire starting next year. So it's really exciting to see top players coming back this year.
And Shabnim Ismail, now 36. How's her pace going?
Not slowing down, and it's unbelievable. I mean, there's been a lot of headlines in the media recently regarding can women's bowlers reach 80 miles per hour. And whilst I don't think they need to, she's someone who has repeatedly, and she is a very dangerous bowler as far as any batters are concerned.
Well, the Welsh Fire have gone from 7th to 8th, to 3rd to 2nd. Could they go to first? We'll find out later. Let's move on then to probably the most consistent franchise in the tournament, the Oval Invincibles. They've got a host of England stars and world stars in their group.
I mean, they really have. When you look at a balanced side, they've got that checked off. I mean, the addition of Meg Lanning from London Spirit, I mean, what a signing. She is probably the most experienced international cricketer on the circuit. Obviously had a lot of success captaining Australia to a lot, almost a borderline annoying amount of World Cup victories. So it's super exciting.
One of their other overseas players is Marizanne Kapp, who's probably been the best player of the 100 over the 5 years or 4 years.
I mean, Marizanne Kapp just turns up every year and makes cricket look easy. She is phenomenal, and it's super exciting to have players like her who consistently are coming back year on year and also are committed to a certain franchise, because it also really helps those teams develop a fan base and a structure with her as an obvious focal point in their 11.
I'd agree. It's always great when you get the same players coming back to a franchise, especially from a spectator's point of view. Another player that is coming back to them this year is Amanda Jade Wellington, because she's moved around a bit in the 100.
Yeah, she has. I'm pretty sure before this season it was 3 teams in 3 years for her. So for her, she spent the season at Somerset. So she spent a lot of time getting used to English conditions. So to have that consistency in the 100 as well, hopefully she can build on her success in previous years. She's been ridiculously successful with the ball, has always been up there in the wicket-taking charts. So yeah, it'll be really exciting to see her in action.
One of their leading batters, Alice Capsey, she was 5th on the run ladder last year with 222 runs. It's a big year for her.
I think Alice has a real point to prove. Obviously, following those Ashes, there were quite a few question marks placed over her head and over her position as far as stability goes in the England setup. And if she can have a good 100, that really settles her in that way. And I mean, you combine kind of those international superstar experiences with that younger fire, and I mean, you gather a really exciting lineup.
Brooks Running reminds us that we're all powered by something. Whether it's the me-time energy of a run after a day at the office, the electrifying energy of your first marathon, or the infectious energy of a group run with your friends. No matter what energy powers you, Brooks has gear specifically designed to unleash it. So lace up and let it out. Let's run there. Visit brooksrunning.com today to learn more.
Deborah had to have surgery.
I had hip surgery in November of 2024.
Her United Healthcare nurse, Crystal, checked on her.
We do a routine call after surgery, and I could tell that she was struggling.
Deborah needed help.
My infection markers were through the roof.
And Crystal knew what to do.
I called the hospital and said she's coming in.
And got Deborah the help she needed.
Crystal and United Healthcare saved my life.
Hear more stories like Deborah's at uhc.com. Benefits, features, and/or devices vary by plan area. Limitation and exclusions apply.
Let's move on to the Northern Superchargers. They narrowly missed out on the Eliminator in 2024. What are your thoughts on them?
I'm super excited about them this season. I mean, I'd say they've got the best overseas group in the competition. And a new head coach this season, which will be probably a good shake-up for them. Sometimes change can be good, not disputing what Danny Hazell has done for that team over the last few years, but I'm hoping they're going to have a good year.
Yes, last year Annabelle Sutherland was the MVP of the tournament. She didn't get in your team of the tournament. She was only a squad player in that team. And they've also got the leading wicket taker from last year's tournament in Lindsay Smith, who's recently got back in the England side.
I mean, I feel like I owe Annabelle Sutherland an apology for not putting her in my team of the tournament there. Definitely been done dirty because she had a great year. But Lindsay Smith is super exciting. I mean, been knocking on the door of the England setup for a while. I think Charlotte Edwards being at the helm of that now definitely works to her advantage, as she spent time coaching Lindsay domestically at the Vipers. And hopefully a good tournament can, like Capsy, help her cement her place in that 11 heading into a World Cup.
They've also got Kate Cross and Alice Davidson-Richards. Will we be seeing Alice Davidson-Richards bowl?
I really hope so. I think Alice probably wouldn't mind me saying that she's struggled this year with ball in hand, and obviously, as far as England goes, has made her way back in, but hasn't really got those opportunities. But I mean, in a bowling lineup where you've got players like Kate Cross and Lindsay Smith, it's not a guarantee, but that just shows how much significant international experience they have in that squad.
Next up is the Trent Rockets. They came 5th in 2024. They have a new captain, and it's time to hear from Mick Newell, their general manager, with his thoughts on the captaincy position.
She's got enough on her plate, I think, with the England women's team and becoming a mum recently. And we just see this month as an opportunity for somebody like Nat to have a little bit of the off-field pressure taken off her and the on-field pressure of captaining, but just give her a time to play the game, to reflect on the game a bit more easily than having to deal with media, selection, team meetings and all that sort of thing. So I was really impressed with Ash Gardner last year when she was over as an overseas player, and she was very keen and happy to take the captaincy on.
What do you think to Mick's comments there? The right one for the England captain, Nat Sciver-Brunt?
I mean, I think from Nat's perspective, I agree that it's too much. And it's been a massive year for her, both on and off the pitch. And it's fair enough that she needs a bit of a breather before heading into a World Cup. And I did see some people being quite critical of the fact that she isn't captaining this year. And I think, in all honesty, when you're in Trent Rocket's position and you have someone as experienced as Ash Gardner on the sidelines, why would you put that unnecessary pressure on that when you have so many other options? So I think it's probably a very good decision.
But is it good, like with Charlie Dean, that we get more England players who are captains in the 100?
I mean, I will be honest, I was disappointed that some of the English domestic players weren't giving the captaincy. I mean, you've got players like Ellie Fraukaud and Kirsty Gordon, who are both captains domestically and have been very, very competitive for those teams. And I understand that at a franchise level, you want players like Ash at your head, but it would have been nice to have seen some other English players given that opportunity. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's necessary for Nat to take that opportunity.
Nat certainly took her opportunities last year. She was the top run scorer with 303 runs. She's clearly a key player for the Trent Rockets.
I mean, she is an unbelievable cricketer, and I don't think anyone needs me to tell them that. Um, when people look at the 100 and look at Trent Rockets, she is one of the names that will stand up, and quite rightly. She has been at the head of the England team for a very long time. She smashed it domestically in the franchise stuff. I mean, in the WPL earlier in the year, she was also unbelievable. So it's super exciting that she's still able to be involved, even though she can't captain.
And on the batting side, it'll be important to see Bryony Smith get a few more runs. Last year, she only got 102 at the top of the order for the Trent Rockets.
I mean, Bryony is an unbelievable cricketer and is someone who, for Surrey this season, they've really been able to rely on. So I really do hope that she can get more runs at the top of the order because last year didn't reflect her abilities. And I know that she was disappointed by her campaign last year. So hopefully this one can be a more successful one.
They've also got young Grace Scrivens, who's now 21.
Yeah, I mean, Grace has obviously been a name that's floated around quite a lot in recent times. There was some, I believe, very early calls that she should be the next England captain. She's probably fallen off the radar slightly domestically this season, but is still incredibly talented and definitely one to keep an eye on this tournament.
Last season, she got 157 runs, which is quite a good tally.
100%, especially given how much batting the Rockets have in their lineup. When you can have players like Grace in there providing those additional runs, it's not a bad position to be in. And I'm sure she'll be up there once again.
We mentioned the Ashes off air. The Trent Rockets have also got someone called Alana King, who I think was the player of the series at the Ashes.
I mean, as far as the English players in the 100 are concerned, they probably are not looking forward to seeing Alana King coming down the wicket at them. She is an unbelievable cricketer. And people often hail certain players as one of the best spinners in the game. I genuinely think she's up there and is probably beginning to push Eccleston to an extent. And to have players like her wanting to take part in the 100 is super exciting because Australia are at the head of women's cricket and have been for a very long time. So if their players want to come, it means we're doing something right.
Sophie Eccleston, you just mentioned her name. She's playing for the next team we're going to talk about, the Manchester Originals, who came sixth last term.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have a good campaign. I think they're a team that have historically underperformed given the players they've got on display. I also don't think the captaincy worked very well last year. Sophie Eccleston took it on and it just didn't quite click. It didn't look like she felt comfortable in that role. So it'll be interesting to see if come the start of the tournament she is still their captain.
So that's not been confirmed whether she's captain yet of the Manchester Originals.
I mean, they haven't said she isn't. But obviously Sophie's been under a lot of pressure in recent times by the media, by fans. There was a couple of incidents in the Ashes. So she's kind of keeping her head down. So I wouldn't be surprised if she wasn't, in all honesty, but we'll have to wait and see.
They look like they've got a bowling attack here with Lauren Filer, Mahika Gore back, Catherine Bryce, Sophie Eccleston, and also Mealy Kerr, the New Zealander.
I mean, the addition of Kerr is an incredible one, and she's someone who's spent quite a lot of time in the 100 actually, but we missed her last season. And I really did miss her because of how phenomenal she is. And I mean, also domestically, they've got Danny Gregory and Alice Monaghan, who were part of Surrey's T20 Blast winning campaign with ball. So their bowling attack is really exciting, but it has been continuously. So I think the question mark is whether they can all work together and perform on the same day.
Batting wise, they've got Deandra Dottin and Beth Mooney.
I mean, not a bad duo, is it? Mooney is someone who can really, knuckle down and build an innings for you, whereas Dottin is your explosive hitter. And surprisingly wasn't involved last year, I'm pretty sure, but it's back in this year. Has had a very good run up, I'd say, to the tournament. And I'm really looking forward to seeing her smash some sixes, as long as they're not in my direction.
Well, they could be in your direction if they're playing the Birmingham Phoenix, a team you know well, yet your home team. They came seventh last year, having the season before finished eighth, but they weren't a distant seventh, were they?
I mean, I don't think their place in the table reflected the campaign they had. They ended up being quite close in a number of games, and I think most importantly, started to work well under the new leadership of Aussie superstar Elise Perry. And also we saw some younger players really shining through.
You said on one of our previous podcasts you liked Elise Perry as a captain.
I think she's a phenomenal leader. I mean, her management of the younger players last year was just phenomenal, and her trust in them. She genuinely gave those players opportunity. I mean, I think of Karis Pavely as an example, who unfortunately is injured this season. But she went from kind of bowling a few overs in the 23 edition to opening the bowling in some of the games in 2024 because of the faith Elise put in her. And I think that makes a really good captain, because you've got to trust everyone you've got on the pitch.
One player they have signed is Georgia Vole, the 21-year-old Australian.
I mean, their batting lineup is just incredible. I mean, Georgia Vole has obviously had quite the rise as far as Aussie international cricket is concerned. And they've also made some incredible domestic batting signings as well. I mean, the likes of Emma Lamb, Marie Kelly, Georgie Boyce. It's really strengthened a rather weak batting lineup last season.
They've also got Amy Jones. Any chance that she might open in the 100?
I'd love to see it. I mean, I think Amy is a phenomenal batter wherever you put her in the order. But we'll have to wait and see. I think they've got a lot of natural openers, domestics-wise, Georgia Vole as well. So I think it's going to be a real competition for places actually in that team this season, which is a great problem to have.
Bit early yet for a prediction from you, but as your home team, are you optimistic they'll do better in 2025?
I am very optimistic they'll do better. They're also, I think it's important to mention, under a new head coach in Ali Maiden, who has been coaching Warwickshire this season. And I mean, they've made 2 finals days in a row. So you'd like to think that he can kind of continue that pattern and help them succeed to the level they should be doing.
Finally, we come to the Southern Brave, who were the champions in 2023, runners-up in 2022 and 2021. And in 2024, I remember you saying there's no way they won't be in, at least make the eliminator, and they came 8th of 8. No Charlotte Edwards in 2025. What will be the impact of no Charlotte Edwards at the helm at the Southern Brave?
I mean, I'm going to be honest, I'm a tad concerned for that team. I think, obviously, I don't think last season reflected them and Charlotte Edwards. It was just one of those really odd situations where for some reason they just could not gel and they couldn't reflect their abilities on the field. But Charlotte is an incredible coach, and we've seen the effect of the Vipers losing her. Um, and I reckon that pattern will follow, but I'm not particularly optimistic for their successes this season, it's safe to say.
They've still got some incredible players, though, with Laura Volthart, Georgia Adams, Danny White-Hodge, Lauren Bell, Chloe Tryon.
I mean, I'd agree. I think they're very strong on paper, but I don't think they're particularly balanced as a squad. I mean, they've got a number of domestic players in there who have struggled with injuries this season, like Freya Kemps, or struggled to perform. And you've also got the question mark over the availability of all those players. I mean, we had, can't remember if it was last year or the year before, Lauren Bell missed a load of games for the Brave because there was a World Cup coming up, and we're in that situation again. And then you've got, I mean, as far as international players go, it's not the strongest international contingent either in terms of recent form. So I hopefully they prove me wrong. But I don't think they're as strong as previous seasons.
They've signed Sophie Devine, the New Zealander from the Birmingham Phoenix. Do you think that's a good signing?
I mean, look, I have a lot of respect for Sophie, and I think she's a phenomenal player, but she really struggled in the 100 last year, both with bat and ball. And I mean, obviously, everyone has a dip in form occasionally, and as we always say, class is permanent, so she could bounce back. But I think there's always a lot of pressure as the top international in the squad to perform. So we'll have to wait and see. But hopefully she can have a better season than last year and be a worthwhile signing.
One player you told listeners to look out for last season was Tilly Courtine Coleman, now 17.
I mean, I really rate Tilly. I think she's a phenomenal player. She's been doing her A-levels this year, so she's not spent as much time around the Surrey squad as she probably would have liked to. But I think she was probably the bright spark in the Southern Brave season last year. I mean, Charlotte Edwards signed her in the main draft before she'd made a professional debut. And then she made headlines repeatedly. I mean, one of the things that really stands out to me was when she took 4 wickets and 4 balls in a T20 game for the South East Stars. You know, she is someone who's really exciting, especially looking at the future of the game.
Well, that completes our preview of the 8 teams in the Women's 100. Thanks for going through those with me.
I'm Chris Hadfield. I'm an astronaut, an author, a citizen of planet Earth. Join me for a 6-part journey into the systems that power the world. Real conversations with real people who are shaping the future of energy. No politics, no empty talk, just solutions-focused conversations on the challenges we must overcome and the possibilities that lie ahead. This is On Energy.
Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. When you visit the doctor, you probably hand over your insurance, your ID, and contact details. It's just one of the many places that has your personal info. And if any of them accidentally expose it, you could be at risk for identity theft. LifeLock monitors millions of data points a second. If you become a victim, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
I just wanted to go back to our predictions for 2024 and just take a look back. At the time you went for the Welsh Fire, the second year in a row you'd gone for the Welsh Fire, and in fairness to you, they did get to the final.
I mean, look, I'm a firm believer that I was robbed in 2023. When that eliminator was rained off and they were forced out in that way. So, I mean, I had to predict them again last year, and they gave it a real good go and nearly went all the way in that final, but London Spirit just outclassed them.
And you did, in fairness, you did suggest that the London Spirit would make the eliminator. So You got in the top three, and they were the winners of the competition. If we'll forget about the other team you selected. We've just heard about them, the Southern Brave. And yours truly, in the men's competition, I went for the Southern Brave, who were runners up. I also tipped the Oval Invincibles to get to the Eliminator, and they were the winners. And I also had a bit of a meltdown with the Trent Rockets. So all in all, we did quite well in 2024.
I mean, yeah, we did. I mean, you did a great job with the men's as well. Hopefully, we can be even more successful.
Well,
this season.
we're going to find out soon. To start with, we're going to go back to our special guest, Chloe Hill, and hear some of her predictions for the 100 2025. Chloe, got a set of 5 questions for you here. The winners and the finalists, and just your thoughts on the women's 2025 100.
Yeah, so my winners I've got down for this year is Northern Superchargers. So obviously, I think how it goes is they would automatically go to the final. So then, like the playoff, I've got Trent Rocket against Oval Invincible, and then it will be a Trent Rocket against Northern Supercharged final, where the new Northern Superchargers will take the podium.
And why do you think the Northern Superchargers are going to win the tournament?
I just think they've got a good group of players and a good domestic group of players as well, and some characters who can definitely stand up in those moments. You've got like Holly Armitage, Alice Davidson-Richards, and you see them in the domestic game, and they can just step up in crucial times and know how to win the game.
This is Annabelle Sutherland and Phoebe Litchfield, I think. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Talking then of Phoebe Litchfield, who's going to score the most runs in the tournament?
So obviously, I've got 2. I've obviously got her out there, Phoebe Litchfield, but I've also got Emma Lamb as well. So she's made the move to Birmingham Phoenix, I believe, this year. And obviously, we've seen her in the domestic game this year, just scoring runs for fun. And I think she's having a bit of a season where runs just come naturally to her. So I think the 100 could be a bit of a breakthrough season for her in the 100.
So it's Emma Lamb and Phoebe Litchfield are your 2 predictions, yeah?
Yeah, going for 2.
Then who's going to take the most wickets?
So I'm going to stick with the theme of going with 2. And if one of them come anywhere near the top, then I've done well. So I've gone for Alana King and Rihanna McDonald-Gay. So Rihanna McDonald-Gay, seen her at Oval Invincibles, and Alana King, I believe, is she
Trent
with...
Rockets.
Yeah.
So
she's been with Trent Rockets the past few years.
And the highest score in the women's 100 is 181 for 3. Now, do you think that's going to be beaten this year? That was the game when Tammy Beaumont scored a century.
So, without you actually telling me that, I thought it was somewhere near it, and I've gone for 185. Like, I've just got a feeling we're going to beat it this year, just with how the cricket has gone around the tier system. Obviously, seeing how the international games go in, yeah, I think we're going to see some big scores, and I'd like to see that record broken this year.
And finally, a young player to look out for.
So I've gone for 3 English domestic players who are young. And I guess I believe they all got signed in the wildcard draft. So Phoebe Brett, who's a left-arm spinner. She played for Worcestershire in the Tier 2 and got signed with Warwickshire to play the rest of the season with Tier 1. And she's gone to Birmingham Phoenix. Millie Taylor, who is a left-arm leg spinner. Now, I just think that's going to be amazing that if she gets a few games in the 100 to see how she goes. She's certainly been taking wickets for fun in the Vitality Blast for Warwickshire, and I'm sure she'll continue to do that for them going into finals day. And then the last one is a young seamer, Esme McGregor, who's at Essex, and she's leading the way at the moment with the leading wickets in the Vitality Blast.
Well, thanks for those. You don't see many left-arm leg spinners.
No, exactly. That's why I had to put her name out there. I played with her when she was originally at Southern Vipers on the academy. So obviously when I was at Southern Vipers, she used to train with us and play a few games in the warm-ups and stuff like that. And yeah, I certainly think she's an exciting talent. And as a wicketkeeper, sometimes she was really hard to pick. But I guess the more I kept to her, and I guess when I batted against her in the nets, like you actually got to understand what she was doing with the ball, but it still confuses you. So I think she's going to do well in the 100.
Well, enjoy the 100 2025. Hope you get to see some matches, and thank you for being on the Paddock and the Pavilion.
No, thank you. Look forward to it.
Rosa, it's always good when the guests on the programme make their own rules. You ask for one person, they come up with 2 and 3 in the end.
I mean, what can I say? I respect it, wanted to highlight multiple players, but it always makes your life as the host a little bit more complicated.
So what do you think to some of what Chloe had to say? And it's time really for your own predictions, starting with the winners and the finalists, really.
I mean, I think my predictions will kind of reflect a big part of where me and Chloe have agreed. I mean, for me, I have also gone with Northern Superchargers as my winners of the comp this year. And I've gone for an Oval Invincibles versus Birmingham Phoenix Eliminator, which I think Oval Invincibles will come out on top of. So we'll have a Northern Superchargers Invincibles final with Northern Superchargers as the champions.
So the Welsh Fire are not going to go 3-2-1 then?
I mean, I love the Welsh Fire, as you know. They're the team I back year on year. But looking at the squads this season, I think there's some real talent elsewhere. And I reckon they'll still be up there. I think it'll be a tight finish, but I don't think I think they'll just miss out on that eliminator.
So why do you think the Northern Superchargers, who were 4th last season, they did have the MVP, Annabelle Sutherland, who, to remind listeners, didn't get in your team of the tournament. Why do you think they will win it this year?
You're never going to let me live that down, are you? As I said, I apologise, Annabelle Sutherland. I mean, they have got an unbelievable squad, to put it as reasonably as I can. I mean, as I've already said, the best international contingent in the comp with the 3 Aussies. They've got a ridiculous depth of international experience with Kate Cross, Lindsay Smith, Bess Heath, Alice Davidson-Richards. I mean, Holly Armitage, it goes on. And then domestically, they've got Davina Perrin and Ella Claridge, who've been incredible in the Blast this season. So as far as I'm concerned, they've probably got the strongest squad.
You've made a good case for them there. So let's move on to the next prediction. Who's going to score the most runs in the Women's 100 2025?
I have gone with a bold wild card choice for this one. And I have gone with 18-year-old, or she 19? I think she's 18-year-old Davina Perrin of the Northern Superchargers. She was 5th in the Vitality Blast run scoring rankings this year. And I really think that if she is given that opportunity at the top of the order, she is going to amaze many people, probably even the England selectors. But she's definitely up there for me, and she's someone who I've watched a lot over the years, playing for the Sparks, now playing for Warwickshire, and I'm backing her to finish on top.
What about the most wickets?
Again, I've gone for a bold one. I've gone with someone who's lit up the 100 in recent years, and I've gone for Izzy Wong. I think that Izzy really struggled last season, and she wouldn't mind me saying that. She was having issues on a lot of levels with her bowling, but the way she has come back in recent times, back into that England squad after her mismanagement and her kind of missing out on it. And I mean, on Blast finals day at the weekend, she took 4 for 14 in that eliminator, and I think that kind of says all you need to know about her form.
Moving on then, do you think the highest scorer of the tournament's history, 181, is going to be beaten in 2025?
100%. We've had quite a high scoring summer domestically, whereas last year we didn't particularly. The pitches have been quite batter friendly, and the domestic game is just improving with I guess, how deep the batting goes in each team. I mean, there are players who in recent years would struggle batting 10 or 11 who can now come in higher up the order and make a real impact. So I'd defo say that that's going to be beaten this season.
So what you're saying really is that the county structure has improved the quality of the batting, the depth of the batting in the county sides.
I mean, 100%. I mean, I think if you're going to give all the players in a squad a professional contract, you have to be on a professional deal to play Tier 1 cricket. That's one of the requirements of the game. When you've got a group of players working every day together, working in the nets, playing at the top stadia and not just playing on local club grounds, it's going to improve, and it's definitely worked so far.
Of course, all this is going to depend on how shiny the balls are this year for the 100.
I mean, I don't think the women complained about that last year. They just got on with it. I mean, it was only the men, which not saying anything, but it's a bit of a trend. Bit of a trend. I mean, it's the balls that the women have been using all summer, so I'm sure there won't be any issues.
Perhaps the letter H will be smaller this year on the balls.
I just think, I mean, as someone who plays cricket, I don't really think it's that deep, if you get me. I think it was definitely used as an excuse a bit for the pitches last season. And I'm not going to turn around and say that the ground staff were at fault for the pitches. It was the weather. And I think we really struggled to produce pitches that had runs in them. And that was probably the bigger reason for the lower totals than some printing on a ball.
Yeah, we can easily forget the build up to last year's 100. The weather had been quite inclement. There'd been a lot more rain, hadn't there?
100%. I mean, we've probably not had enough rain this season, ironically. English weather for you. But the weather was definitely at play, and definitely affected those conditions.
And your final prediction is a young player to look out for. I'll allow you young players because Chloe picked 3.
I mean, I've got young players, but I've got 3 young players and I've got 2 general players to keep an eye out on. Young players, all English domestic players. Same as Chloe, I've gone with Millie Taylor, top wicket taker in the Vitality Blast. Really pleased for her this season. She has absolutely smashed it. Rihanna McDonald-Gay of Surrey, their top wicket taker in a Blast winning campaign. And Davina Perrin, I mean, I've already told you that she's going to score the most runs, so I guess I probably should name her as one to watch. And then in terms of players to watch, I've gone Jess Jonathan at Welsh Fire. I mean, we've spoken about her already, that international experience. And I've also gone for Nat Rafe at the Trent Rockets. She's had a very good season domestically and has performed for them actually year on year and has often fallen under the radar. So it'd be nice to see her get a bit of credit.
So you widen the rules of this, let's say, competition predictions even wider than Chloe has.
What can I say? It's what happens when you get people who have their own podcast on the host. They change the rules of yours.
Well, thank you very much for giving us your predictions. I think it's time now you've got to ask me for mine for the men's tournament.
I'm actually really curious about this because obviously I'm so women's cricket dominated these days that I've not been able to keep as much of an eye on this men's tournament as I usually would. So what are you thinking, Stephen? Who is going to come out on top?
Well, I've just got a few things I was going to point out to start with. I've come up with my 3, and you might be surprised with one of them. But just looking through some of the teams, there was a few players I picked out. Be interesting to see how Rehan Ahmed gets on for the Trent Rockets. He's been having a fantastic season for Leicestershire, particularly with the bat. And we're recording here on the 29th of July, and he scored another century today in the county championship for Leicestershire. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. Also, we've got a 42 or 43-year-old, I think, during the tournament, Sir Jimmy Anderson playing for the Manchester Originals. So be intriguing to see how he gets on. And Rocky Flintoff, I think 17, is playing for the Northern Superchargers or has been selected by his dad, Freddie Flintoff, in the Northern Superchargers squad. The Southern Brave have got their usual batch of pace bowlers, and they've even added a left arm option this year in Reece Topley. I think he's now playing for his 3rd 100 team. And the Welsh Fire, it'd be interesting to see how Steve Smith gets on for the Welsh Fire, the Australian Australian great. And they've also got Ben Kellaway, who plays for Glamorgan, who's the ambidextrous bowler who bowls slow left arm and also bowls off spin. So it'll be interesting watching him bowl. But coming to my three teams that I think will be coming to my top three teams, and I'll give you my winner at the end. My surprise team is the Birmingham Phoenix, and that should please you. But they've got a New Zealand pace attack in Adam Milne, Tim Southey, the England bowling coach, and they've also signed Trent Boult, who's always done very well in the IPL. They've got Jacob Bethel, who I think will be very hungry to do well, and Ben Duckett when he's available. I guess he might miss the opening game, but I'm confident he'll score some runs. And also they've got people like Will Smead and captain Liam Livingstone, who will want to do well, having been dropped from the England side. So they're one of my surprise top three. My finalist is not really a surprise. Yeah, my finalist is the reigning champions, the Oval Invincibles, who have got an array of talent with Tom Curran, Sam Curran, Sajid Mahmood, Rashid Khan has signed for them. So their bowling attack is extremely strong. Oh, Gus Atkinson, Jordan Cox with a bat, Sam Billings with a bat, Will Jacks with a bat and ball. So I think they're a very strong outfit. They will miss Adam Zampa, the Australian leg spinner, who's not playing this year. But my winners for the 2025 men's 100 are the London Spirit. Now, they've got the ever popular David Warner playing for them at Lord's. That will be interesting. They've got Kane Williamson, who's captain. They've got Jamie Smith, Jamie Overton. They've got Liam Dawson with the ball. Ryan Higgins, a very good all-rounder at Middlesex. Keaton Jennings also with the bat. Ashton Turner, Australian. I'm going for the London Spirit.
I mean, I reckon from what you just told me, that sounds like a very good shout. I mean, I really rate Liam Dawson. I think he is a phenomenal cricketer, and is probably one of my favourites in the men's game. And also, as you said earlier, Rayan Ahmed. I mean, what a season he is having. The last time I checked, he was a bowler. And I'm looking at scorecards this season and he keeps scoring centuries. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and he's going in at number 3 as well. He has opening sometimes.
I mean, talk about evolving your game as a young player to make yourself more selectable. He's certainly done that.
Going back to the London Spirit, I forgot to mention Dan Worrell and the left arm Luke Wood, who are going to be bowling as well. So I think they've got a very all-round attack. And Ollie Pope as well, if and when he's available.
I mean, it's not a weak squad, is it, by any means? I mean, hopefully those England players are made available for larger parts of the tournament. I'm pretty sure the tests don't clash with the tournament.
No, the test match finishes on the 4th of August and the 100 starts on the 5th.
So they'll probably have a bit of a rest, but you'd like to think that they'll be made available for the bulk of it.
Yeah, there's no Ben Stokes, but I'm sure most players will be given probably 1 or at max 2 game rest before they'll be playing.
Oh, 100%. And that's important. I mean, at the end of the day, cricketers are human beings and their bodies can only put up with so much. And I definitely highlight Ben Stokes in this. So I don't think there's anything wrong with them having a bit of a rest as long as they eventually get involved.
Do you think with the women's competition and finals day being last weekend that all the internationals will be there at the start?
I mean, I think it will be a case of waiting and seeing on that basis. There's about 10 of them not available for the round of one-day cup games, which is tomorrow when we're recording this. So I'm assuming that is because they will be available for the hundreds. I mean, from the ECB's point of view, it would be silly for them not to be. but we'll have to wait and see.
But I'm sure you'd agree with all of the teams in the 100 in such a short format competition. Individual players within a team can win games on their own. I've just looked again at the Manchester Originals side in the men's competition. When their two opening batsmen, Josh Butler and Phil Salt, they've also got Henrik Klassen and Rachin Ravindra. It only needs those players to come off in half a dozen games, and Manchester Originals are the champions. And I'm sure that applies to the women's competition as well.
And I mean, 100%, and we've seen it in individual games of cricket. I mean, we talk about that highest score, and Tammy Beaumont's 100, and I mean, that was an innings for the ages. But in T20 cricket, it's the same, and it will be the case in the 100 that if you've got a couple of players or just one player having the game of their lives, you never know, you might end up on top.
And if it's as competitive in the women's competition as it was last year, you could, as the London Spirit did, win 4.5 games as they did. They lost 3 matches to actually get to the eliminator.
100%. And I mean, as you say, that shows how competitive women's cricket has become. And in the early stages of the 100, we weren't in a position where there was enough domestic talent to go around the squads and have a level playing field. But now there's so much domestic talent that I could probably list 15 or so players that were unlucky to miss out on a place in the tournament. So it's a super exciting place to be in. Hopefully it will be a very tight year.
Let's hope so, and let's hope it keeps dry, because that's the one thing you don't want is lots of rained off games.
I mean, I remember, I think it was 2023 100, where it just rained and rained and rained and rained. So hopefully we can avoid that this year, because apart from anything else, I'd quite like to watch some cricket.
Yes, I would too. And you're planning on going to watch several of the 100 matches?
Yeah, I should be. I've already sorted quite a few of the Birmingham Phoenixes games. We'll be at some Trent Rockets games, and probably will be around the 2 London teams. That's kind of the 4 I tend to focus on in the tournament, but hopefully it should be good. And I'm sure you're also planning to get to a few yourself.
Yes, I'm hoping to get to the Trent Rockets and the London Spirit, and for the first time, fingers crossed, to the Oval.
I mean, I'm a firm believer that the Oval is the best ground to be media in the country. So hopefully you can, and hopefully you can enjoy it.
The Oval always comes across when you're watching on TV as the best atmosphere for a night match, certainly.
I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, on Sunday at Blast Finals Day, there were only 5,000 in, and it felt full for how up and about they all were. And if you can have it fuller than that, which I'm sure it will be in the hundreds, it makes for a very exciting atmosphere.
Well, that's what we all hope. Bigger crowds over the 26 days of the competition.
I mean, I'd really like to think so. There was a really positive growth in the women's comp last year. I think 7 of the 8 grounds had their record attendances broken. I think Edgbaston, ironically, was the only one who didn't. But if we can keep that up and continue that support for women's cricket, especially heading into that home World Cup next year, it all bodes very well.
Yes, that's important with the World Cup coming up next summer. This is a great advert for women's cricket, short form women's cricket.
I mean, it really is. And it's also a great advert for some of those international players ahead of, hopefully for them, playing in that tournament. I mean, we talk about players like Georgia Boll, who are on the fringes for Australia, and also for some of our English domestic players who could really step up. And I mean, if you're performing in the hundreds on English soil, why wouldn't you be considered for a home World Cup?
Do you know how ticket sales, we're getting off subject here a bit, but do you know how ticket sales so far are going for the 2026 T20 World Cup in England?
I mean, from what I've heard, I had a good chat with Beth Barrett-Wild at Tier 2 Finals Day on Saturday, who's the head of the English women's domestic game and has taken up quite a big role in planning that World Cup. And she seemed very positive. I think the England games are sounding really well. I think the one potential area of concern is maybe some of the games involving, I don't want to say lesser nations because that's not fair, but nations that don't necessarily have a big population over here or aren't seen as one of the top nations. But that's just the growth of the game, and you've got to hope that as women's cricket grows as a whole, we can grow those teams with it.
But to finish this podcast about the 2025 100, you're going for the Northern Superchargers in the women, and I'm going for the London Spirit in the men.
And hopefully we'll both be right.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed, and we can catch up again to review the whole competition, perhaps with that surprise guest again in September.
I mean, let's see if you can keep it a surprise this time. It should be good.
Thank you very much again for being on the Paddock and the Pavilion.
Thank you for having me. As always, it was an absolute blast.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Lowe's knows that more projects mean more tools. For a limited time, new and existing MyLowe's Rewards credit card members can get 12-month special financing on purchases of $299 or more, in-store and online. Don't wait to get the things you need. Get special financing today. Lowe's. We help. You save. Now through August 27th, choose 12-month special financing on purchases of $299 or more. Offer subject to credit approval and cannot be combined. Minimum monthly payments required. See store or Lowe's.com for details.